everyone, this is the Stary board review. Had it for about 3 weeks now, so let's get into it. Pros. The acceleration is amazing. The top speed in this board is only 18.5 miles an hour, but how fast it gets you there, and especially how fast it gets you to like about the 10 mile per hour range, is insane. You really have to prepare your body for the acceleration in the very beginning. No complaints there. Another pro would be the form factor. This is what I think is the thinnest board that has the battery in the deck and the motor in the wheel. Inboard, even though you can replace the battery, it's not as thin as this. This is extremely thin. It's indiscernible from a regular skateboard or longboard, so it's great for anti-theft reasons, and just for looking stealthy and just kind of blending in. I don't get a lot of looks when I'm just carrying it around. It blends in. So easy to carry. It's very light, which is a great plus. The remote is fantastic. It has a great UI. Good enough settings. You can't really track your mileage with it. One thing that I've experienced is motor disconnect issues. Apparently it's only me. If anyone else has this issue, I'm really curious to see. But basically, when you cover the bottom of the remote with your hand or something, like if I were to just hold the remote like this, then the connection would not go through to the board. I have to be completely clear from the bottom. So I usually hold it really awkwardly, kind of like this, because I just don't want it to lose connection. And as long as I do that, it's fine. But if I block it, then it goes in and out. And if it goes out and then I accelerate while it's disconnected, then when it regains connection, the board's going to shoot in front of me. I'm not going to be able to anticipate it, and I'm going to injure myself. That's pretty much it for pluses. So let's get into the cons here. One more plus is definitely going to be the weight distribution. This has somewhat equal weight distribution in the front and back. I mean, of course it's going to be a little bit heavier in this corner here, but compared to I've owned the Metro board, and that was just really bottom heavy, and like you really felt that motor when you were turning either way. This, it really feels like a normal skateboard. This thing just carves really well, and you feel really attached to the board. You don't feel detached. I like how low it is. And it looks like you do have the option of putting risers on. They give you a little bit of leeway in the cable there. But I personally like how low it is, just because you get really good center of gravity, and you can just carve easier, in my opinion. The bushings are pretty bad. I swapped them out. They're not the worst. No, I swapped them out just easy enough. Another con is the battery life, the range. This thing only gets about 3 to 4 miles, like 3.5 to 4 miles if you have fun with it and you go flat out. If you are economical, then you might be able to get the advertised range, but I don't think this thing's going any further than 8 miles. Even if you do kind of take it easy, only go to about 15 miles an hour max speed, and you don't accelerate from a dead stop. Another con is the motor has a lot of resistance. It's relatively hard to move the motor. You'll just go slower if you're coasting, especially when you're going downhill. You'll notice it. On hills that I normally just kind of cruise on my regular skateboard, I actually have to accelerate on this because there's so much resistance that the board just goes really slow on downhills. So that's a con, just because you have to accelerate more than you would really want to, and that kind of takes away from the skateboard feel for it. Charging time is about 2 hours and 45 minutes from dead, and which is decent. Final impressions, I love the weight distribution. I like how it feels just like a regular skateboard, just because I've been skating for I think like 8-9 years now. So you are limited by the range. I can't do everything that I would want to do with it because of that. But for short trips, it's great. $900, definitely one to consider if you really want that form factor, and if you don't mind the range and the resistance motor issues, then it's a great board for you. Alright guys, one last thing I forgot here, and it's the wheel slip issue. When you first get this board, the motor and the wheel skin that is attached, the rubber is not tight enough against the skateboard motor, and that causes the motor to slip against the outer ring of the wheel. A fix has been suggested and it really works, and basically what you do is you wrap tape around the motor and then you put the wheel skin back on, and that makes it thick enough to not slip. But one drawback is when you're braking, it's a very severe brake. It's not a good braking curve. So when you're going at high speeds, like over 17 or 18 miles an hour, the board will jolt back, and you see that in some of my ride videos. So when I'm skating, and I don't ever really want to go too fast because I don't really trust the brake at high speeds. So I have gotten used to it. I have made my stance more rigid, but it's still, it would be much better if it had a better braking curve. Feel free to check out my other ride videos that I have on my channel, and I hope you enjoyed this and all my other videos.